Hi everybody, good morning. It is Burton's Middle Class Review for June 2019. Okay, the election's over, so what were the big topics talked about? Well, there were plenty, but one that was really talked about was climate change, people going on about things like the world could be ending in 12 years as we know it, and a lot of hoo-ha, but I'll just get to facts, okay? Because one of the topics brought up was electric vehicles. I know people get emotional about green issues, but hey, I'll just try to stick to facts. So electric vehicles, it's a popular thing, and the opposition Labor Party was saying that, we should have 50%, electric vehicles by 2030. Well, okay, if you want to do this for green reasons, all right, no worries. But we'll just look at some of the electric vehicles that are available and nations that have taken on electric vehicles and how it actually works. Now, a lot of the media was saying, well, if Norway can do it, they have 50% electric vehicles, Australia can do it too. They're a Western country, why can't we? Well, let's look at Norway itself, okay? It's got a population of about 5.3 million people. Its surface area, I've actually got it written down here, so I don't want to misquote or say something that's not true, 385,203 square kilometres. Now, Australia's surface area is 7.692 million square metres, so we're a much bigger country. They only have 5.3 million people. We've got about 25 million people. Now, the surface area of our state of New South Wales, the most populous state in Australia, it's actually 809,444 square metres, so it's huge. My home state of Queensland, I know it's got over 1.85 million square kilometres, so it's huge, okay? Also, Norway, they have hydroelectric and geothermal power, so 99% of their power is from green sources, as you would call, green sources, as you would say. We have mostly coal-fired power. We do have hydroelectric as well, and we do have wind and solar, true. But yeah, so they've got lots of rivers, lots of snow melts, runs into rivers, they can generate hydroelectric power. We're the driest continent on Earth, so probably not as much hydroelectric. Australia also, we do have a very different taxation system, and Norway can afford to basically subsidise having 50%, it's not electric vehicles, it's actually, in fact, 50% electric and hybrid vehicles on their roads, okay? So hybrid is actually a petrol engine and an electric engine in it as well, just to be factual here. They can subsidise it because they made their wealth through oil, yes, dirty oil. What they've done, the government has invested a lot of this money into a sovereign wealth fund, which is worth over $1 trillion. That's 1,000 times $1,000 million. They live off the, well, they don't live off it, but they use the dividends from these investments in shares, predominantly, the stock market, being owners of companies, and they get the dividends from these companies and they use that to subsidise, infrastructure, things like that. Now, so they've already got the green power down pat with their electricity. They've got the wealth from a sovereign wealth fund. Also, they're very different to how they run the country, like immigration, very little immigration into the country. We take 230,000 immigrants every year net, and 80% of those are still on welfare 5 years later. So we have a huge welfare state paying for a lot of people on welfare in Australia. In Norway, they have high taxations, income taxes. They have huge taxes on alcohol, cigarettes. They have massive protectionism. Like 1 year recently, their dairy farmers couldn't produce enough milk. So they got milk, I believe it was from Denmark, but they were only allowed to get milk there for 1 year only. Okay, so they have massive protections, they have massive tariffs on imports, like huge. Just on their cars alone, they have a 25% tax. We have a 10% goods and services tax, or GST as we call it. They have a 25% tax on all their cars except the electric vehicles. So obviously people are more likely to buy an electric vehicle because it doesn't have this tax. It doesn't have import duties as well. No import duties on electric cars. They have no tolls paid by drivers in electric vehicles. They have free parking in the cities for electric vehicles. And they have, I think it's about half price for electric vehicles on ferries, crossing rivers and that. So they have massive punitive taxes on other things, but electric vehicles are obviously not taxed. Also, your income taxes are huge, 50%, probably around 50%. I personally know a couple who are Australians who are working in Norway. The husband was an engineer, the wife works high up in human resources. Now you would think they would have a great middle class lifestyle. They only have 2 children. They live in a 2-bedroom unit, and that's how people live. They simply can't afford to have a large 4 or 5 bedroom middle class home in a beautiful area like we have in Australia. Okay, so totally different lifestyle. So when people say, why don't we do it like Norway? Well, there's your reasons why. Okay. Also, it's very expensive for cars over there anyway in the first place. But even so, electric cars in Australia are quite expensive too. So if you're looking at buying one, here's a big selling car in Australia, the Hyundai Kona. 2-wheel drive automatic, 2-litre petrol, $25,500 drive away. Brand new. Okay, small SUVs are the big sellers now. Big growth business in Australia, car sales. The electric Hyundai Kona, you can pick one up for around $65,000 brand new. You can get the Highlander, which I believe is the top of the range Hyundai Kona. It's $71,880. Okay, that's what I saw in carsales.com.au for a brand new one. Now it's from $71,800, so they can be more expensive depending on your options. Also, why are you buying an electric car? Is it to reduce pollution? Well, I read a study about 15 years ago. An Australian university took a 1976 General Motors Holden 5-litre V8 Kingswood. It's a family sedan, gas-guzzling V8 with a carburetor, not fuel injection. Didn't have the pollution gear that we have on beautiful new cars nowadays. And this car could be driven 15,000 kilometres a year, which is the average distance that a regular Australian commuter drives a car. 15,000 k's a year for 15 years. And that amount of pollution that it belched out the back of that car was the equivalent of the pollution that was created to make a single Hyundai Getz, a tiny little three-door, 1.4 litre petrol hatchback. Okay, at the time it was one of the most, I think it was the most economical car on the road and one of the smallest. Okay, so just creating a car, huge amounts of pollution because you've got to mine the iron ore and you mine coal to make steel, you need oil to make plastics, things like that. And then you've got to transport it, so ship all these products to, say, countries like Japan, Korea, Thailand. Remember, in Australia, at least 800,000 cars that are sold every year in this country, out of the total of about 1.15 million, are made in Thailand, South Korea, and Japan. Then you've got to ship all these goods out and then ship it all back again, okay? Also, with an electric car, you've got a lithium battery. Now, these things it's really toxic to mine this stuff. And when they dump these batteries, I don't even know if they have a proper recycling system yet, large-scale recycling system for hybrid batteries or electric vehicle batteries. Now, I work in the automotive industry and I have heard from a number of mechanics that cab drivers are hiring Toyota Camry hybrids, because this is the most popular taxi cab out there, a Toyota sedan, a hybrid sedan. They're hiring these cars from rental car companies and they're taking the battery out of the rental car, out of a near new hybrid car, and putting their crappy old one out of their taxi unit, because it's very expensive to replace these batteries and they have a life of about 7 to 10 years. So with all this information I've given you, the cost, the actual pollution created from making new cars, if you really want to save the planet and at today's prices, etc., buy a second-hand Corolla. Anyway, guys, all the best and stay awesome.